Hello and welcome to the MAGURA Powersports Tech video series. Today we're going to have a look at putting a slave cylinder onto your motorcycle from our HYMEC system. So first of all, before I start, I've taken all of the peripheral tiles off the motorcycle. In this case, an S1000R BMW. As instructed by the manufacturer of the bike, we've removed the tank. We've done all the jobs in terms of the fairing to replace the clutch cable. And now, before I remove the clutch cable, I'm going to measure the clutch travel on the motorcycle to ensure that it's suitable for our HYMEC system. So if I now check, I have 125 millimeters from the attachment point from the Bowden cable to the outside of the clutch arm. I remove the mechanical play from the clutch here at the lever, and I reduce that slightly down to, I'm now at 126 millimeters. When I activate the clutch and remeasure, then I have 120 millimeters. So this motorcycle is ideal for HYMEC. Hello, we're back. We've removed the clutch cable from the lever and below at the engine. And if you check the current MAGURA catalogue, which is available to download at magura.com, you will find some instructions, including 2 templates for our slave cylinders. I've cut the 2 templates out. I put a little bit of cardboard on the back of them so that they're a little bit more stable. And now I'm going to see which of these is suitable for use on this particular motorcycle. So first of all, I'm going to take the standard version. I'm going to attach it inside here, take out the play on the clutch lever, and then I can see immediately that this version is too short for this motorcycle, which is probably not a bad thing, because as the fuel tank sits down here, it wouldn't be a good idea for the slave cylinder to be sticking out the back. So I will use the second version, which is the attachment from the rear. And when I position that into the holder, then I can see that the 4th longest version, together with the universal cap at the back, is the perfect slave cylinder for this motorcycle. So I'm now going to sort the parts out, and I'll be back to show you how to fit it. Hello, so we're back. This time we have our slave cylinder to which we've attached the universal attachment kit at the back. And on this particular motorcycle, we require a nipple attachment because there's a large nipple on the end of the cable. When in doubt, when measuring for a slave cylinder, always go for the next longest version rather than the next shortest, because it's much easier to space her out if it's slightly too long. So in this case, we've got the 4th longest version of the slave cylinder, and we've attached the universal attachment kit, and I'm now going to fit it to the clutch arm. I'm going to prise the clutch arm very slightly apart in order to fit. I'm going to pull very gently the rod out of the slave cylinder. And then from above, I'm going to attach the nipple. Okay, so the slave cylinder is now attached. I can re-nip this so that it fits very nicely, and then we'll look at attaching it from the rear. It's extremely important that the slave cylinder always runs in a straight line. It will have a huge influence on the life cycle of the slave cylinder, and in this instance, on this particular motorcycle, unfortunately there was no straight activation because the cable activation was done slightly differently. Therefore, we've made a small bracket in order to attach the slave cylinder from behind. So I put the washer on and the self-locking nut, and afterwards the position is determined by the free play. I need 4 to 6 millimeters of free play here, and the 4 to 6 millimeters of free play dictates where my self-locking nut is in this case. I can either measure by pulling the slave backwards out of the bracket, and I can see that I have slightly more than 4 to 6 millimeters of play. Okay, and when I'm finished, I should be able to push the slave cylinder backwards, and I have some free play available. The free play is there so that when the clutch expands and is warm when I'm riding the motorcycle, that it doesn't start at some stage to pull on the slave activation rod. That's the perfect situation. I'm now operating perfectly correctly. The very last thing I have to do to install the slave cylinder is to remove the clutch return spring, and I'll show you how to do that now. The slave cylinder has now been mounted on the motorcycle. One of the big advantages that the HYMEC system has is that it will adjust for any wear of the clutch or any heat expansion of the clutch. In order for it to be able to do that, we have to deactivate the return spring, the clutch return spring. In this case, very simple. Simply take the end of the spring and detach it. Naturally, you can also remove the spring if you want. Simply remove the arm, take the spring off, or you can cable tie it into position like so, so that it doesn't vibrate or cause any annoyance. This spring is not required. The free play on the clutch slave cylinder is responsible for ensuring that your pressure point is always in the same place at every activation.